Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Stacy, the 911 Stitcher, and this video is about cross stitching. Today is Thursday, July 9th, 2020, and this is my video number 38. This isn't going to be my normal every 2-week update that I usually do. This video actually is a special video about samplers. I've been wanting to do a video for the last couple of months all about samplers and tell you a little bit about myself in regards to samplers. And I'm going to show you a lot of great charts. It's basically going to be a sampler chart parade along with some of my very first samplers I started working on. And I would give a little history about samplers if I felt I was that knowledgeable in it, but I'm not. And I do have a really good website I found. I've got some information where you can find more facts on samplers. Someone asked me just recently, what makes a Quaker sampler? I believe it's the motifs, which I'll show in a few minutes, but there's lots of good questions out there about samplers. And again, I'm going to show a lot of good charts today. I do have a giveaway. I have bought a couple of charts by mistake twice. So why not give it to you? So let's get started on this. I started stitching when I was 16. Our choices back then were basically go out and buy a kit, which came with fabric, floss, and a chart. And that was it. So then work got in the way. I worked graveyard. I worked very, very long hours as a 911 dispatcher. And working graveyard, you basically don't have a life. At least I didn't, because I slept a lot during the day and I worked a lot of hours. So I stopped stitching. When I came back to stitching, I couldn't believe the change that had been made. I mean, it was massive. You could go and buy fabric of all colors. You could buy fabric that's been hand dyed, floss that's been over dyed, and just the choices were incredible. It was truly awesome time to be involved in cross stitching. So I got into cross stitch again. I started with Lizzie Kate's, I started with Country Cottage Needleworks, and I started with Little House Needleworks, which to this day I still love. The only changes that have been made as far as me and my taste is now I'm obsessed with samplers. And in the beginning of cross stitching, if you had showed me a sampler, I would have no interest in it at all. And back in the day, I guarantee you I've walked through many museums and seen a sampler on the wall and never stopped and looked at it, really looked at the detail, and I wouldn't have been as fascinated as I am now with samplers. So my tastes have really changed, and I am so happy that I've added samplers to my whip pile and my cross stitching pile. So I have a massive amount of charts to show. It's going to take a few videos. So let's get started with this first video on samplers. Now, I'm definitely not a historian on samplers. I don't even want to give facts on samplers unless I've heard it from someone I can quote it from, which I do want to tell a little bit about. But I'm definitely not knowledgeable when it comes to the history of samplers. There are other Flosstubers out there that are just amazing when it comes to knowing the history and the stories that some of the samplers come with. Nicola from Hands Across the Sea, she's a Flosstuber, she's a designer, she has beautiful samplers, which I'll show in a little bit. I almost wanted to do just a sampler parade on Hands Across the Sea because her samplers are so beautiful, but she's very knowledgeable. She can tell you anything you need to know about samplers. If you have questions, you can email her. She's so kind. I know she'd get back to you, and she's one of my favorite people. Another Flosstuber that's so knowledgeable on samplers is Theresa Venette with Shakespeare's Peddler. She has a floss tube, KittenStitcher. She also has a shop online, KittenStitcher.com. The two of them, I'm so impressed with how much they know. I have learned so much from just the two of them. And there's many out there. There's lots of different stores that are knowledgeable that have knowledge of samplers and that supply the charts that you can buy. But I also came across a really interesting website. It was the Victoria and Albert Museum website. Let's see if I can find it. It is www.v, like Victor, They had a really good article on embroidery, a history of needlework, which it's so interesting the way they did it, because they broke it down to like 16th century, 18th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and they explained the differences, and they had just a great article. If you want to go take a look, I'll put the link down below, but it is through the Victoria and Albert Museum in the United Kingdom. I thought it was just a pretty fascinating read, and I can guarantee you next time I go into a museum and I see samplers on the wall, I am going to just be staring at them. My husband's going to be like, okay, let's move along. But I will just be so fascinated with the works of art that people have created. And I think that's why I got into samplers, is because some of these samplers have been done by children. I have a chart here that was done by a 7-year-old and a teenager. And nowadays, these charts are being reproduced by these different designers so that we can enjoy the stitching too, and we can copy what they did. And then of course we have samplers that different designers have made on their own. And it's just such an exciting time right now to be a stitcher and be interested in samplers. So I try to think about when I started getting into it, because again, in the beginning of stitching, when I returned to stitching, I saw samplers and I just thought, nope, it's not for me. I don't want to stitch the alphabet. I don't want to stitch motifs. I don't want to stitch these big, huge scenes. And something just changed along the way. And now I really enjoy stitching the alphabet. And again, I never thought that I would like that. Now I enjoy it. And I love doing different motifs. I love doing a big scene. I've been reading different articles on samplers, and a lot of them repeat the same thing, like what is a sampler? I've noticed a lot of them say samplers have decorative, let's see, somebody wrote that a lot of them have repeating patterns. A lot of them have Quaker motifs, decorative borders, and I thought I wrote something else down, but I can't remember. But a lot of them do have repeating, whether it be alphabet or the motif. Some of them have repeating scenes that you stitch, and then some of them don't. So I'm going to show a whole bunch of charts today and give you an idea of samplers. Maybe you find some that's your style, maybe some you look at and go, no, that's not my style. But I was trying to think of, going back to what I started to say, I was trying to think of when I started getting into samplers. I was stitching a Heart and Hand. It was called Ye Old Crow. I recently sent it to a finisher, so she's turning it into something really pretty. I think she's going to do a little pillow. And while I was stitching this piece, I'll show a picture here. While I was stitching this piece, obviously it's not a sampler. It's very small. And it took me only a week or two, couple weeks maybe to do. But there was something about that that really fascinated me. And when I went back online and started looking at the different shops that do samplers, I started seeing what I had just stitched, something similar, bigger, like in much bigger, more motifs were added. So I think that's when I started changing. I based my love for samplers on that small one that I did. And again, I remember stitching it thinking, God, I wish this was bigger, because I love this so much. I wish it was just bigger and had more to it. So that's when I started looking at samplers, and I started seeing things similar, where maybe there was a crow, or maybe there were birds and flowers with different motifs just like that, but in much bigger sizes. So I thought, I'm going to give that a try. So I think that cross stitch started reminding me of motifs, and that's where I really started thinking, I loved stitching that so much. I can't wait till it comes back from the finisher. And now I've gotten into much, much bigger projects that are similar to something like that. So who are some of my favorite floss tubers that talk a lot about samplers and show some beautiful samplers? I love Carol, the Saltbox stitcher. She has some gorgeous finishes. She has some on her walls that are just beautiful. Brenda and the Cereal Starter is another absolute favorite of mine. I'm listing these so if you are kind of getting into samplers, it gives you an idea of who else to watch in addition to the videos that I'm mentioning. You can add those maybe to your viewing so you can see some of the actual finished finished pieces. I don't have finished samplers yet. I'm working on them, but these ladies are fantastic. They've got some of the most gorgeous finished pieces for you to see. Brenda has some on the back of her walls that are just fantastic. So that way you can get a look by watching their floss tubes. It gives you an idea of the finished look of the actual sampler. KittenStitcher, I mentioned before. Gosh, her knowledge is just fantastic. She's amazing. And she's one of my favorites. Again, Nicola, Hands Across the Sea. Sassy Jacks is another one I enjoy. Kimberly's very knowledgeable on samplers. Different needlework shops that I've found that are very knowledgeable in addition to Sassy Jacks is Acorn and Threads. And I found the Attic in Arizona, very knowledgeable. If you have questions about something you're interested in stitching or finding, call them, because I think they're just, all of them are so great. There's so many more that I have not mentioned that are worth, you just have to kind of get out there and find them. And those personally are some of my absolute favorites. And I know I'm missing some floss tubers that I watch. Nicole's Needlework is another one that's got beautiful samplers. She's got great progress. But as far as actually seeing them on the wall, I definitely highly recommend Carol, the Saltbox Stitcher, and Brenda and Laura, the Cereal Starter. Facebook groups. Some of the Facebook groups that I'm in that have a focus on samplers, I love. My favorite is Our Sampler Years on Facebook. It is Our Sampler Years, Yesterday's Needlework for Today. And the other one I really enjoy is Homespun Needlework, Cross Stitch and Samplers. Those are two of my favorite Facebook groups where you can get to some more information and see people's progress. So what I'll do is I'll start showing some of my cross stitches. One of the things that I got from one of KittenStitcher's last videos that I thought was really interesting is that a lot of collectors, people that collect samplers, they try and collect 1840 and before. She said after you see more, or after the year 1840, you start seeing more Victorian style, you start seeing more needlepoint, you start seeing more use of wool. So 1840 and before is a lot of the samplers she mentioned that collectors try and find and collect. So that kind of gives you an idea of style. But again, the different centuries, that website I mentioned earlier, the Victorian Albert Museum gave a really good article on the history with, and it mentions, like I said, it breaks down the different centuries. I thought it was really cool. So after I stitched that piece that I showed, just the little one, I started looking around at different samplers and I thought, you know, I really like Quakers. Someone asked me, I mentioned already, what makes a Quaker sampler? Well, I believe it's the motifs. Once you start seeing pictures of different Quakers, I'm going to show you 3 of them right now, you'll start seeing a pattern of different motifs and they're so beautiful. I think Quakers are my favorite. So here's one. This is a Quaker Christmas Bygone Stitches. So what I'm going to do is show some beautiful charts. Then I'm going to show my first couple of samplers that I bought. So Bygone Stitches has Quaker Christmas. This is the first one. I'll show it up close. And you know I love crows, so I'm all about that one. I love this one. This is 320 wide by 205, so it's pretty big. And says, let's see. Yeah, it says motifs, Quaker Christmas, and then there's Quaker Christmas 2. So that's the first one I wanted to show. Quaker Christmas 2 by Bygone Stitches is this one. So see, you got all the different motifs, which makes it a Quaker. Again, I am not a historian. I know nothing about the history of samplers, but check out the people that I mentioned before because they know so much about charts and the history of them. I'm getting fascinated in Nicola Parkman, Hands Across the Sea, has mentioned the Bristol orphanage samplers in the United Kingdom. Check those out. I'll show some in the next videos. I plan on doing more sampler videos. Maybe I will do a parade of certain designers because I do have several from Reflet de Soie. I have several from Hands Across the Sea I can show you guys. But for now, today's just a mix of different samplers, charts that I'm going to show. Here's another beautiful Quaker chart. It is Halloween Quakers by Lila Studio. Look at that. This has been around. You guys have seen it because it's popular. Look at all these crows. I love them. So again, here's the different Quaker motifs. And it's beautiful. Just beautiful. I think I'll show my first couple of samplers that I started. So going back to Ye Old Crow, the small one that I showed you, one of the first charts that I found when I started looking around, because I wanted to find a bigger, more motifs, I wanted to find something similar and bigger, I came across Anne Grimshaw 1818. So this was one of the very first samplers that I bought. It is a Acworth Quaker School sampler by the Scarlet Letter. Now I've shown this on my previous floss tubes. It is just fantastic. So when I showed you that the small finish that I did, Ye Old Crow, now you can kind of get an idea of why I liked this one. It's black stitching. It has the different motifs on it. And it just reminds me of that first little one that I did, but bigger. Of course, it's different. There's a border. This one has a border, the Quaker border. But you kind of get an idea of what I'm trying to say as far as wanting something bigger in addition to that crow that I stitched. And then you've got the alphabet. So this is my very first time doing an alphabet. I do have other whips, works in progress that I'm working on that do have alphabet. I just never thought that I would really like doing the alphabet, and now I do. So we'll see once I get started. Right now I'm only doing up in here. I did work on it. I'll show you my progress. This is on 32 count taupe. This is my progress on it. I got a little bit more done. Is this? Nope, it's upside down. Here we go. I thought the letters looked a little weird. So that's my progress on this one. It's been a lot of fun. It's given me a little bit of trouble because if something doesn't line up, the whole thing is off. So I have definitely been frogging, and now it's perfect again. I am using Splendor Silks, and I love this silk. I really like this. So that's my progress on Anne Grimshaw 1818. This chart comes with a whole story of the sampler. I don't want to show the chart, but it's just so interesting, everything you get to read inside. It has good diagrams. There is a few specialty stitches, but it gives you good diagrams. I just love this chart. I love how it was put together. It's easy to read. I really like it. So one of the next samplers that I got was by Rosewood Manor. This is a popular one, real popular. This is my working copy, so it's not a very good picture of it, but Autumn Quakers. I think you guys have seen that before. Again, you've got the Quaker motifs. It is beautiful. Well, I think this is one of their most popular charts, Autumn Quakers. My progress on this is on Vintage Country Mocha, 32 count, and that's my progress on it. So this was, I believe, my second sampler that I bought, and I'm enjoying it. I think it's just gorgeous. Look at that little crow down there. This is using Valdani threads. They come in a little ball. You just pull. I was looking to see if I had a nice one. They're all kind of used. But they come in a little ball like this. They're real pretty. Pull it out and just use that. You don't have to split the threads. You just use it the way it is. Took some getting used to. For some reason, Valdani wasn't my favorite at first, and now I really like it. It just took some getting used to. So that gives you an idea of Quakers and what the look of a Quaker is and why, you know, what makes it called a Quaker. It's the motifs. And I'm going to show more samplers. Now you're getting into like pictures. You've got French samplers, you've got German samplers, you've got samplers from all over. It's just such a fun, interesting, it's just so interesting. Another sampler that I started, you know, oh, here's my, this was, other than the Quakers, this was my next sampler that I bought when I went to Dutch Mania back in December. That's another video of its own. If you'd like to see a European trip of when I went to the Netherlands to visit the designers of Twin Peak Primitives, check out those videos. That was back in December. But the official chart for Dutch Mania was called Tracking the Seasons, and I was fascinated with it. I love how it has the different seasons, fall, winter, spring, summer. I love it. So this was the next sampler that I bought. And again, now you can see a difference between Quakers and just a regular scene sampler. So I thought this was beautiful. Anyway, this was the official Dutch Mania chart that was we bought when we went to the Netherlands to see Twin Peak Primitives. I am going to do them all as one. I am still working on the first one and my progress, which is probably pretty wrinkly. It's also on Vintage Country Mocha. That's my progress on this one. Aren't those colors beautiful? So this is fun. This has just been really fun. Another sampler I want to show you that I've just barely started for Stitch Mania is by Theresa Baird. Sorry for the paper noise. This is Heart's Ease Exemplar Works called Antrum's Folly. This is another sampler that is just fantastic. Again, totally different than the Quaker samplers that I showed. I love that spotted cow and that little girl's dress. So this, I wasn't even going to show my progress on it because I just barely started it. What I'm doing, I decided to do it in DMC. There's a lot of floss. This is on an R&R fabric that I can't remember what color it is right now, but I just barely started. If you look, the bottom border says Burlington County, New Jersey. It's not very good in the picture, but it shows up good on the fabric. And then this blue border, the little triangles, this is where I started. So it's not much progress at all. Fabric is really, really pretty. I'll have to find out what it is, but that's my progress there. But it gives you can get an idea of the color of the fabric. It's really pretty, and I'll find out for the next video what it is. Okay, let's look at some more charts. Here's another one I want to start, another sampler, Barbara Anna Designs, the Snooty Parrots sampler. Now this sampler was mentioned on Debbie from Creatively Yours, her last Flosstube video that she did with her friend Alice. They both have the same chart, and I'm hoping the three of us can do a stitch along. So this is it, the Snooty Parrot sampler by Barbara Anna Designs. So see, you get an idea. There's the repetitive border that's very classic in a sampler. And you've got the animals and you've got the scene. This is beautiful. I love it. I love those parrots. And they do look snooty. So hopefully we can start this maybe a little bit in a few months or so. Snooty Parrots by Barbara Anna Designs. Ooh, here's a Hands Across the Sea that was my first Hands Across the Sea that I bought. These charts, if you end up buying a Hands Across the Sea chart, are so professionally done. They're very thick quality paper, and there's always usually a story that goes with the chart. So in this case, here's the story. This one is called Miss Mary Ann Bourne, 1791. And again, this was my very first sampler from Hands Across the Sea that I bought. Isn't that gorgeous? Again, the decorative border, and then you've got the scene. It's just fantastic. I love that skep in the middle. I am working on three other Hands Across the Sea samplers. I think in the next sampler video that I do, I'll show all my whips, and I'll give you an idea of what else I'm working on. I just wanted to show those, the Autumn Quakers and the Antrum's Folly and the Twin Peak Primitives one, because those were my first ones, the very first charts I ever bought. But that's just beautiful. I stitched up, I can't even imagine. But anyway, her charts, if you buy them, are a book. It's like a little book. They are beautiful, good quality paper, thick, and they're just gorgeous. Look at the back of that. She always puts the floss, a DMC conversion, a store. Again, she has the story inside of the sampler. It's just fantastic. I love it. I just love Hands Across the Sea. Okay, let's get into some French. I have a German sampler and a couple of French samplers from some favorites of mine. This one was online. I had to buy it as a PDF, so the quality of this one when I show you is not very good. I'm going to include a picture if I can find it. This one, Marquois Elise. Let's see if I can show it through here. And I'll show you the name. It's Trésor de... I shouldn't even butcher this. Trésor de Beaux à Couture. I'll show the website. That's the name of the website. And this is the chart. But this is my computer copy is not pretty at all. I'm going to see if I can include a picture. If I do, it's gorgeous. The colors are so bright and beautiful. But I love the dog. So this is a French sampler. It gives you an idea. French has different motifs, and they just look a little different, and they're so beautiful. I love the train. And this is the name of it. Marquois Elise. And again, I had to actually send her an email on her website. I was able to figure out her email address. I have 2 of her charts, and you get them through PDF. So I'll show another French company of French charts. You do, like I said, you start seeing differences in designers, and it's really cool. Here's another absolute favorite. I think I must have 10 plus of her charts. Reflet de Soie. That is so beautiful. There's the name, Reflet de Soie. And this one is called MG 1889. Gosh, that's gorgeous. Those colors. And these are available. I have found them on KittenStitcher. I have found them through a Canadian website, Traditional Stitches. They're a great shop. Victorian Rose Needlearts is another one that I've gotten these charts from. This is also good quality. It's a good thick paper. They always have or DMC conversion on the back. And this one also is charted with Soie d'Alger silks. So you have your choice. You don't have to spend a fortune on silks. You can buy DMC. It's going to look just as beautiful. And that's this one. That's just gorgeous. It's a very easy to follow chart also. It is black and white. So you kind of get an idea of how different the French looks. And I have a lot more Reflet de Soie to show. Okay, this one is really, let me show you the German sampler. This is by the Scarlet Letter. It's called Hannah Katharina. Look at that big parrot. Isn't that neat? I don't know why it's coming out a little blurry. If it's blurry for you guys, I'll see if I can find a better picture online. But again, this is called Hannah Katharina, a German sampler dated 1734. That is so pretty. I love the people, and like I said, that giant parrot. I just love how big he is. This paper is a little thinner. It's easy to read, very easy to read charts in black and white. I love the Scarlet Letter. It says this finely stitched German sampler begins with a single row of alphabets above an immensely intricate collection of symbolic cross-stitch motifs, including battling angels, the figure of justice with her scales, the spies of Canaan, the crucifixion, Adam and Eve, tree of life, Solomon's temple, the Lamb of God, the symbolic Alpha and Omega, and the sacrifice of Isaac, and much more. But until you read that, then you really start to see. I didn't see the alphabet way up at the top. Again, I hope this comes out a little clearer because all that I mentioned is in this sampler. And I hope I can find a clearer picture. Gorgeous. Scarlet Letter. Just gorgeous. Then we've got another style. I believe this is Dutch. It is by Permin of Copenhagen. They have lots of great samplers. I actually have two of them sitting right here. This also has a story. It is Dutch. And part of it's in English also. So it might have Dutch, but it's also got an English translation. Looks like it also has French. It just has lots and lots of story. It talks about the symbols of each motif. And I will show you in Hollandish, schon anno 1790. Anno. Look at that. Now you're just getting massive here. This is beautiful. Look at that gorgeous swan, the lion. That is just incredible. And here's the name of it. And it's by Permin of Copenhagen. I'll show you on the back. It's just gorgeous. Gosh, it's gorgeous. That swan, this is actually a good picture of it. So you can see all the beautiful motifs. Stop. Sorry, my shepherds are in here. Gorgeous. This is going to get stitched up one of these days. It's just so beautiful. So that again, Permin of Copenhagen, another brand that is just wow. And here on the back, you can see the different languages. I see French. Again, I see German, Dutch, and English. So it tells all the different translations as well. Here's another one. Permin of Copenhagen. This one is Sampler 1830. Gosh, this is so pretty. Look at this massive thing. I should have done a floss tube on just massive samplers. that's just so beautiful. But this video, I just wanted to show a variety of different ones, and so you get an idea of Quaker, of Dutch, of German, of French. And then in the next sampler, I'll narrow it down to different either designers or brands. But it's been fun just picking one and just showing you. Anyway, this is Permin of Copenhagen. And it is sampler 1830. This one comes on a lot bigger of a piece of paper, which is harder for me to work on because I like to make a photocopy. That way I can highlight as I go. But just to give you an idea, I'm not gonna show the chart, but just look how big that is. And all the pages are like that. Anyway, wow, that's just fantastic. I'm gonna show it up close so you can see what the motifs are. Isn't that neat? I love that house. It's just beautiful. Okay, let's see, how are we doing on time? I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I've got a lot more to show, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up for now because I wanna show you the giveaway. This is one of the charts that came twice by mistake. So if you're interested in a sampler and you would love to have a copy, or your own Lucy Calcutt 1825 by Just Stitching Along, this is another absolutely gorgeous chart. I don't want to open it because this is going to be someone's chart. This is my giveaway. Your question, I like to always ask a question. Tell me if you have any favorite sampler designers so far, or if you have any samplers that you have your eye on buying or starting. But yeah, this is just, I love this so much. It's the colors that I love, that bright red. So anyway, this is the giveaway. Just Stitching Along, Miss Lucy Calcutt 1825. I actually have this kitted up. I'm missing a couple flosses. I'm waiting for them to be delivered from Shepherd's Needle in Arkansas. So yes, it's just gorgeous. So tell me some of your favorite designers for samplers, or maybe you have a favorite sampler. Maybe you have one you're working on. Give me something like that in the comments below. If you're interested, I'll enter you to win. I'll do random Google select to find a winner for this chart. You must be 18. Please don't say the word giveaway in comments. And that's it. So I'm going to do a few other sampler videos in the next few weeks. I'll show a lot more. I have a lot more charts to show. It'll be another chart parade, and show you progress on the samplers that I am working on. And my regular floss tube, if you do watch my regular floss tubes, that's going to be in 2 weeks after this. I'll announce the giveaway for Lucy Calcutt in this video. I'll announce the winner in the video coming up in the next 2 weeks. And for those of you that do watch my normal floss tubes, the giveaways that were mentioned in video 37 will also be mentioned. So all the giveaway winners will be mentioned in the next video in 2 weeks. Thanks everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing these beautiful samplers, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye guys.